Today, we're diving deep into the story of the Viking Sky. This was a brand new state-of-the-art cruise ship that somehow came just moments away from an absolute catastrophe. It's a really gripping tale of cascading failures, a desperate race against time, and a single hidden flaw that nearly doomed every single person on board. So you have to ask yourself, how does something like this even happen? I mean, a modern marvel of engineering just losing all power? Well, on March 23, 2019, that question became terrifyingly real for nearly 1,400 people aboard the Viking Sky, right off the coast of Norway. I want you to just picture this for a second. You're on a 228-meter-long cruise ship. It's completely powerless, totally adrift, and the anchors, they aren't holding in this ferocious storm. At one point, the ship was actually less than its own length away from being smashed to pieces on a rocky reef. We are talking minutes away from a modern maritime disaster of epic proportions. But, a crisis of this magnitude doesn't just appear out of thin air. The chain of events that led to this near disaster actually started hours earlier. It began with a really critical decision, and as you'll see, a whole series of warning signs that were tragically completely misread. Okay, so here's the first domino to fall. It was a command decision. The captain, worried about getting trapped in port by the worsening weather, decided to cancel a stop, and instead he chose to sail south, directly into the path of a forecasted Force 11 storm. We're talking winds gusting up to 80 knots, a truly violent sea. So as the ship starts battling this massive storm, alarms start going off in the engine control room. And we're not talking about just one or two. We're talking about a cascade. 88 separate low-level tank alarms sounding all morning long. So how did the crew react to all these alarms? Well, they saw the alarms just kind of reset themselves, and they figured, oh, it must just be the fuel sloshing around in the rough seas. They saw them as nuisance alerts, so they dismissed the automated warnings and instead relied on manual checks, which all looked normal. And that assumption, well, it turned out to be disastrous. You see, those 88 alarms that they ignored, yeah, that was just the quiet prelude to an absolutely catastrophic rapid fire system collapse. Everything was about to go wrong and fast. Just look at how quickly this all escalated. At 1:45 p.m., bam, 2 engines suddenly shut down. The engineers scramble, and after 11 incredibly tense minutes, they managed to restart one. But just 2 minutes after that glimmer of hope, the final 2 engines died. In just 13 minutes, the Viking Sky went from a fully operational cruise ship to a dead ship in the water, powerless and completely adrift. And in that exact moment of total blackout, the ship's automation system was just flooded with over 1,000 alarms. It was like a digital scream that completely overwhelmed the engineers who were desperately trying to figure out what on earth was going on. So now you have a powerless ship being pushed towards a rocky shoreline at a terrifying 4 knots. An incredible human response had to begin, both on that helpless vessel and from the rescue services on shore. It was a race against time. The crew, to their credit, sprang into action. The master broadcast a mayday immediately. They dropped both anchors, but the seabed just wouldn't hold them. Down below, engineers were working frantically, and on deck, they were planning for something almost unheard of, a massive helicopter evacuation in a storm. They threw every standard procedure they had at the problem, but it just wasn't enough for these extreme conditions. What happened next was truly heroic. For 18 straight hours, helicopters battled the storm, winching 460 passengers to safety, one by one, from the heaving, pitching deck of that ship. I mean, that is just an incredible display of skill and pure guts. Then, finally, down in the chaos of the engine room, a breakthrough. At 2:37 p.m., after 52 terrifying minutes of being completely powerless, the engineers managed to restart one single propulsion motor. It was just a glimmer of hope, but it was enough. It gave the bridge just enough power to start clawing the ship inch by inch away from that reef. So, this brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why did this happen? How on earth could every single engine fail all at once? Well, the investigation that followed uncovered a critical, and I mean critical, flaw hidden deep within the ship's own design. It all came down to this: the lubricating oil. You can think of it as the lifeblood of an engine. Now, if for any reason the oil pump sucks in air instead of oil, A safety system kicks in automatically and shuts the engine down. It does that to prevent the engine from basically tearing itself to pieces. The entire blackout hinged on this one single component. And here's where we see that dangerous gap between what the crew thought was happening and what was really going on. They thought the alarms were just from oil sloshing around in a full tank, but the reality was a design flaw. The lubricating oil tanks were simply too shallow, so even when they were full, the heavy seas would cause the oil to shift away from the pump, exposing it to air and triggering a shutdown. So this was the fatal chain reaction, like dominoes falling. First, the ship rolls violently in the storm. Second, because of the shallow tank, the oil shifts, exposing the pump's inlet. Third, the pump sucks in air, causing a catastrophic loss of oil pressure. And finally, boom. The safety system does exactly what it's supposed to do and shuts down the engine to protect it. Now that flawed tank design was the root cause for sure, but it was made so much worse by other factors. The alarm trigger points had never been properly calculated for conditions like this. The crew didn't fully trust the automated system because of those nuisance alarms, and then, when the crisis hit, the sheer number of alarms just created chaos and delayed any attempt at a restart. It was a system failure on multiple levels. And this whole story leaves us with a final, pretty chilling question. What happens when a system's hidden flaws meet the one storm they were never truly designed or tested for? The Viking Sky gives us the answer. A perfect storm of design oversight, procedural gaps, and human factors can turn a state-of-the-art vessel into a helpless wreck, leaving the safety of over 1,000 people down to pure chance and the incredible heroism of the rescuers.